I slammed the car door shut, its clang echoing off the brick facade of Grady Elementary, and fumbled for my phone. The late afternoon light slanted across my dashboard as I shifted into park, the engine's hum fading beneath a sudden buzz. I glanced down, an unknown Atlanta number had just pinged. My hand hovered over the screen, fingers stiff with dread. Tucking a loose thread from my sleeve, I tapped the message. A single line of text, "You need to see this." Beneath it, a photo thumbnail beckoned. My heart lurched as I swiped it open. There, in the warm glow of the school's book club basement, was Susan, her brunette hair caught in a soft halo of Edison bulbs, seated across from David, the showroom's art director. He leaned forward, his fingertips brushing hers over a well-worn paperback. 2 chipped mugs of cocoa steamed between them, and an ashtray, crusted with gray cigarette ash I'd never tolerated at home, sat within arm's reach. Their heads tilted together as if the world beyond the table no longer existed. The metallic tang of stale coffee from my travel mug resurfaced, harsh on my tongue. I set the mug down on the roof of my car, the ceramics rim cracking off a tiny chip. The world around me blurred, distant traffic on Peachtree Street, a school bell's final chime, a dog barking in a neighbor's yard. I swallowed hard, resisting the impulse to hurl my mug across the asphalt. My fingers closed around the silver heirloom clock in my jacket pocket, Grandpa's gift on our wedding day, its weight anchoring me. She said book club was just a casual hobby. Instead, she was sharing stolen confessions at dusk. I lifted the clock and clicked it open, its second hand tapped out a steady rhythm as my pulse thundered. I pressed my forehead against the cool metal top of the clock and inhaled the humid Atlanta air, heavy with the scent of magnolias and late summer heat. Breathe, I told myself, picturing Susan's face smiling at me that morning over our daughter's breakfast. Observe first. I reopened my eyes and studied the photo, David's tailored blazer, Susan's paint-splattered cardigan from our weekend project, the way their bodies curved toward each other. The file name flashed, June 14, 8:22 p.m., 3 nights ago, while I believed she was home reviewing our renovation plans. I exhaled through clenched teeth, tasting resolve instead of despair. I tapped save on the image, then backed out to the text screen. The photo lingered in my gallery, its glow mocking me. I slid the phone into my pocket and set the cold mug at my feet, then reached for the dashboard center console and retrieved our wedding portrait, us on the rooftop garden, arms entwined, bright promise in our eyes. With a deliberate flick, I turned the frame face down, hiding our vows in the shadow of betrayal. I opened the driver's door and stepped onto the pavement, rain-soaked from an afternoon shower. Each drop that spattered my jacket felt like a small reprimand. The clock ticked in my pocket as I walked around to the passenger side, where the tablet lay, our shared calendar and messaging hub. I powered it on, tapped the banking app, and scanned for charges to Pages and Brews Cafe, after 8 p.m. Then I opened messages, my thumb hovering over the search bar for hidden threads. A distant school bus rolled past, its brakes hissing a breath I envied. I closed my eyes, counting that hiss as 1, 2, 3. This isn't the end. This is where I begin. The clock's second hand marked each silent vow. I squared my shoulders, slid into the driver's seat, and started the engine. The world outside resumed its rhythm, but inside me, a new purpose had taken hold, to gather every fact, preserve every fragment of proof, and meet this betrayal with calm, unshakable resolve. And so I pulled away, the heirloom clock's tick steady against my heartbeat, determined that time, and justice, would be reclaimed. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling fan's slow rotation, its halo of light bleeding into my thoughts. I reached out and touched the silver heirloom clock, Grandpa's wedding gift to us, its smooth back warm beneath my fingertip. In its steady tick, I heard echoes of our past and the first stirrings of doubt. Our life had begun in a whirl of laughter. I remembered our first date at the Midtown Tapas bar, the scent of saffron paella drifting between us, her eyes alight when I dared to order something exotic. We raised our glasses to new adventures, and I tasted hope on her lips. Weekends were ours. Saturday mornings meant steaming bagels from the Beltline Bakery, everything for me, plain for her, followed by family bike rides along the path, the air crisp with early autumn. Back home, we tackled home improvement projects with practiced teamwork. I'd haul drywall sheets into the den, and she'd hold them steady as I screwed them into place. When the last board clicked in, we'd collapse onto the brand new couch, high-fiving as I fumbled the remote. Sunday nights were sacred family time. After our daughter's bedtime stories, Kate and I lit candles on the fireplace mantel and sprawled on the rug with mugs of chamomile tea. She'd open her laptop to fine-tune her charity gala invitations, fonts, layouts, final RSVPs, while I recounted the week's triumphs. I remember the gentle weight of her head on my shoulder and the easy rhythm of our whispers. Amid those warm rhythms, the first tremors came as minor anomalies. It began with the late-night pings. I'd wake at 11:47 p.m. to her phone's pale blue glow on the nightstand. If I asked, she'd murmur, "Oh, just confirming book club details." I'd nod groggily, trusting her tone and her tired eyes. Then the receipts arrived. One Tuesday, I found a slip from Chapters and Brews Cafe, $8.10, for a latte at 6:03 a.m. I frowned. She never drank coffee before sunrise. At breakfast, I showed her the receipt. She smiled sheepishly. "They started early charity fundraisers," she said. I accepted it, attributing the charge to her busy schedule. A week later, I noticed an unfamiliar, Arthur's Collective, charge on our joint Amex, $45. I asked. She claimed it was materials for the gala's silent auction display. I filed the statement in my desk drawer, labeled, "To ask later," but never asked. At our neighborhood book swap, I spotted her and David in hushed conversation beside the lending rack. They laughed low, heads bent together over a leather-bound volume. When I approached, David straightened. "Just recommending titles," he said, flashing a friendly smile. Kate gave me a quick hug, whispering, "Just book talk." I nodded, though uneasy. Suspicion sharpened when I found stray ash on her scarf. I'd hung up her coat after work, her usual lavender perfume clung to its collar. Yet, beneath it was a trace of stale cigarette smoke, something she'd never touched. I pressed my nose to the fabric, the scent prickled the back of my throat. When I mentioned it, she laughed it off. I must have brushed someone in the cafe. I wanted to accept the excuse. My private investigation began in earnest when I borrowed her tablet to add laundry detergent to our shared list. A hidden messaging app icon caught my eye in the corner of the screen. Curiosity piqued, I tapped it open and found a chat thread labeled Confessions. Inside, pre-dawn entries scrolled by. "David, your voice reading that letter made my heart race." "Kate, I never knew words could feel this personal." "David, can we meet tomorrow at sunrise by the fountain?" My chest tightened. I scrolled back to May 2nd, "Thanks for the charcoal from the studio, your hands smell of possibility." Each line, intimate and electric, felt like a betrayal etched onto glass. I took screenshots, then cleared the history. My hands trembled, but my mind was clear. These messages, once just lines of text, were now threads in a tapestry of deceit. That weekend, I printed the cafe receipts and bank statements, stapling them beneath the chat screenshots. On our kitchen table, I arranged them around the still face-down wedding photo, a ring of evidence encircling the promise we'd made. My daughter's picture sat nearby, her smile a poignant reminder of what was at stake. Late Sunday night, I sat at the table under the hum of the overhead light. I pressed my palm to the cold clock on my jacket, feeling its beat sync with my resolve. No outbursts, no tears. I opened my notebook, its first page labeled Next Steps, and wrote. 1. Schedule attorney meeting. 2. Backup messages and receipts. 3. Install cameras. 4. Consult financial planner. I closed the notebook, each word a brick in my emerging blueprint for justice. In the hush of that moment, I whispered to the silent clock, "Tomorrow, we begin." And with that vow, I rose from the table, leaving the evidence laid bare, and stepping forward, determined to reclaim each second stolen from our family. The morning sunlight slanted through the blinds as I sat at my kitchen table, the confessions, printouts, cafe receipts, and chat screenshots arrayed before me like battle plans. Beside them lay the silver heirloom pocket watch, its steady tick a reminder that every moment I'd lost to deceit demanded reclamation. I poured a cup of strong black coffee, its bitterness grounding me, and readied myself to move from stunned husband to deliberate architect of justice. 1. Retaining legal counsel by 10 a.m. I was in the crisp lobby of Monroe and Vale, Atlanta's top family law practice. My privileged evidence binder felt reassuring in my hands, laminated exhibits, neatly tabbed, with labels A through D. Attorney Claire Vale greeted me with a firm handshake and ushered me into her paneled office. One by one, I laid out the exhibits. Exhibit A, the cafe photograph, Kate and David at 8:22 p.m., heads inclined over steaming cocoa, an ashtray heavy with someone else's cigarette. Exhibit B, Marina Juice Bar receipts, June 8th and 12th, pre-dawn smoothies on our joint account. Exhibit C, screenshots from the confessions chat, messages like, your voice reads like a lover's vow. Exhibit D, snippets of charcoal and coffee grounds found on Kate's yoga mat. I placed the silver watch, its back engraved, together, always, lastly on her desk. Claire absorbed them in silence, then met my gaze. You've built a compelling record, she said, tapping her pen against the leather folder. We'll file for temporary custody and support, and move to freeze joint accounts. I recommend we secure a domestic relations order to preserve your condo equity. We should schedule an expedited hearing, your documentation is precise enough to warrant it. She sketched our action plan. Day 1, sign retainer and finalize exhibit list. Day 3, file motions for temporary orders, custody, support, financial restraints. Day 7, serve Kate and set hearing date. As I signed the engagement letter, a weight lifted, my shock had found its structure. 2, enlisting my support network that afternoon, I called my brother, Aaron, who'd wired our childhood treehouse with every gadget imaginable. Over grilled cheese at our favorite Midtown deli, I slid a hand-drawn floor plan across the table. I need 2 cameras, I said. One at the front door, one in the living room, motion activated, time-stamped. Aaron's eyes lit up. I've got microcams that stream to your phone. I'll be over tonight. Later, I met my best friend, Dr. Maya Liu, a psychologist, at the Botanical Gardens Cafe. Between sips of mint tea, I described the behaviors I'd observed, Kate's nervous laughter when I called her, David's hand lingering on hers as he read passages aloud. Record audio in common areas, Maya advised quietly. Place a recorder on the mantle, you'll capture their voices without infringing on private spaces. Then, when you confront her, ask open-ended questions. What did you discuss this morning? Her answers will implicate her own words. Armed with Aaron's gadgets and Maya's insights, I felt fortified by practical and psychological support. 3. Preserving and cataloging evidence. At dawn on Saturday, Aaron arrived with 2 pinhole cameras. Working in tandem, we mounted one above the foyer doorframe and another atop the bookshelf in the living room. He ran wiring through the attic and connected it to a hidden DVR in my study. The test feed displayed crisp, date-stamped video, even in low light. Next, I placed a small digital voice recorder inside a decorative ceramic vase on the mantel. We tested it, a whispered, testing, 1, 2, played back in perfect fidelity. The house had become a silent witness. Back in my study, I collated digital backups. I downloaded Kate's message archives, texts, social media logs, even deleted files, onto an encrypted external drive. I printed and laminated the receipts and chat screenshots, then organized them in a ring binder labeled evidence. On my desk, I created a spreadsheet with columns for date collected, description, type, and location, binder, drive, DVR. Each row chronicled an item: June 8th receipt, June 14th chat excerpt, June 5th cafe photo. In a small safe bolted under my desk, I locked away the silver watch, the binder, 2 USB drives with encrypted backups, and a small Ziploc bag containing coffee grounds scraped from her yoga mat. The final click of the safe's lock felt like the last brick in my fortress of proof. 4. Drafting and notarizing proposals. Monday morning, I met our neighbor Jenna, licensed notary, in her sunlit living room. I handed her 2 sealed packages from Claire. 1 custody and visitation proposal. Joint legal custody on education and healthcare decisions. Primary physical custody with me, and Kate granted weekend and holiday visitation. Temporary child support per Georgia guidelines. 2 asset division spreadsheet. Condo equity, freeze pending settlement, with her share in escrow. Retirement accounts, separate balances as of petition date. Personal property, workshop tools and the pocket watch to me, Kate's art collection to her. Jenna stamped and notarized each page. Each embossed seal turned ink into legal armor. 5. Financial planning and valuation. That afternoon, I met CPA Elena Martinez at her Lenox Square office. I presented the asset spreadsheet and bank statements. Elena ran valuation models. Condo, current appraisal, options to refinance to buy out Kate's share. Retirement, tax implications of segregating 401k and IRA accounts. Joint savings, freeze and disbursement schedule for childcare. She produced a concise report, cash flow projections and tax strategies, and emailed it to Claire the same day. With finances locked down, another pillar of my life stood firm. 6. Preparing for the hearing by midweek, my study resembled mission control, 2 monitors streaming camera feeds, a corkboard pinned with timelines, and the half-finished music box humming on the workbench. I rehearsed my opening statement aloud. On June 14 at 8:22 p.m. Exhibit A, surveillance footage, records Ms. Carlton and Mr. Reynolds alone at Café Rialto, contrary to her representation that she was home. Exhibit B, rideshare logs, confirm her pre-dawn departures. Exhibit C, text logs, reveal their intimate exchanges. Exhibit D, audio, captures their own admissions. Each rehearsal steadied my voice, replacing grief with authority. The silver watch ticked in my pocket, a metronome for calm resolve. That evening, Claire emailed the hearing date, July 10 at 2 p.m., and asked for final exhibits by July 3. I double-checked every seal, backed up every file, and crossed off each to-do. The turmoil that had once threatened to consume me now lay harnessed in disciplined order. In less than a week, I had transformed from a man adrift in shock to one anchored by systematic purpose. Each camera installed, every notarized document signed, and every financial scenario plotted fortified my resolve. The silver heirloom watch, once a token of shared time, had become the pulse of my deliberate reclamation. As Atlanta's skyline darkened beyond my window, I closed my binder on that final entry, hearing prep complete, evidence secured, allies in place, resolve unwavering. I arrived at Monroe and Vale's conference room at 2 p.m. sharp, the late summer sun slicing through the blinds in crisp lines. On the polished mahogany table lay 3 objects, the silver pocket watch, Exhibit A, resting in its velvet pouch, the ashtray cleaned of its smoke but locked away as Exhibit B, and our wedding photograph in its brushed steel frame. My wife, Kate, sat across from me, her attorney beside her, both eyes flickering between those objects and me. Attorney Valerie Monroe opened her binder. "We'll review Exhibits A through D, then discuss settlement terms." She clicked the remote. Exhibit A appeared, the grainy cafe photograph, Kate and David bent close over steaming mugs, the ashtray's fresh residue a silent witness. Kate's color drained under the scrutiny of her own betrayal. Monroe advanced to Exhibit B, the rideshare logs, pickups at 5:22 a.m. and 6:03 a.m. on multiple dates, all charged to the joint account. I slid the printed receipts toward Kate. "You told me you were home caring for our daughter," I said, voice even. Her attorney leafed through the sheets, then looked up. I reached forward and lifted the wedding photo. "And this," I said, placing it before her, "captured our vows on that Savannah rooftop." I tapped the silver frame. "You promised forever." I moved the photo to her side and returned to Monroe's binder. She clicked to Exhibit C, bank statements showing repeated charges at Chapters and Brews, each in the pre-dawn hours. "You said those runs were for book club refreshments," I noted. "The dates don't match any club meetings." Kate's shoulders trembled, her attorney cleared her throat. Monroe clicked to Exhibit D, the printed confessions, messages, lines like, "Your voice reads like poetry," and, "I ache for our runs." Each message scrawled across the screen felt like a confession. I remained composed. Then I placed the silver pocket watch in front of Kate. "This watch measured every second I trusted you," I said quietly, allowing my gaze to meet hers. "Today, it marks the time you answer for those betrayals." Monroe slid the settlement sheet across the table, joint legal custody, primary physical custody with me, an equitable division of assets, and structured visitation. Kate's hand shook as she reached for the silver pen I'd placed beside the watch, once the instrument of our shared dreams, now the marker of her accountability. She signed, her signature small but deliberate. I followed, placing my name with quiet resolve. Monroe stamped the pages. The soft thud sounded like a gavel's echo. No tears spilled from me, only the steady click of pen on paper. We rose. I offered Kate a brief nod, neither triumph nor rancor, just the clear acknowledgement of truth laid bare. Outside, the city murmured on, unaware. Inside, the chapter closed, and from the echoes of betrayal, a new path emerged, charted by evidence, fortified by resolve, and guided by the steady tick of reclaimed time. A week after the courtroom signing, I sat at our kitchen island reviewing the judge's final decree. Its pages confirmed joint legal custody, granted me primary physical custody of our daughter, and mapped out a clear visitation schedule for Kate, every other weekend and alternating major holidays. Our home, once our shared sanctuary, remained mine, with her equity held in escrow. Retirement and savings accounts were divided per our notarized spreadsheet. Child and spousal support were set on automatic deposit, ensuring our daughter's needs would never be in doubt. I exhaled a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. The law, once a blurry landscape of fear, now stood precise and protective. On the counter before me lay 3 objects that charted the arc of my journey. 1. The silver pocket watch, its back now quietly engraved with "Moments Mended." 2. The ashtray, scrubbed clean and stored away, its residue preserved in my safe as Exhibit B. 3. The wedding photograph, again face up, its frame reflecting our daughter's grin in the morning light. That afternoon, I returned to woodworking in my garage workshop, the refuge that had sat cold when grief threatened to overwhelm me. The half-assembled music box waited on the bench, its mechanism silent. I picked up chisels and fine-grained sandpaper and set to work on a simple transformation, repurposing the pocket watch band as a clasp for the music box's lid. With each careful stroke, I carved the inscription, "Time Reclaimed," into the maple lid. As wood shavings curled to the floor, I felt old pain give way to new purpose. When I snapped the clasp shut, the watch nestled inside, its ticking now a heartbeat of hope. Saturday evening, I hosted a small backyard dinner for my brother, Aaron, Dr. Maya Liu, and our daughter's teacher, Ms. Thompson, those steadfast allies who had guided me through each phase. Under string lights, we grilled fish tacos and laughed about college pranks and childhood misadventures. Our daughter darted between us, her laughter a bright counterpoint to every echo of betrayal. When she presented me with a smooth river stone she'd collected at Piedmont Park, I invited her to place it inside the music box alongside the watch. For good moments, she declared, her smile radiating a joy I feared lost. Sunday dawned gentle over the Atlanta skyline. I launched my blog, still ticking, with a post titled, "Blueprints for Reclamation." I outlined the exact steps I'd taken, documenting anomalies, preserving every scrap of evidence, consulting counsel, and rebuilding my life with deliberate action. I shared the story of the watch-turned keepsake and invited others to transform their own symbols of hurt into artifacts of resilience. Within hours, messages arrived, "Your calm map saved me. Thank you for showing strength through structure. I'm finding my footing." A community formed around shared determination. That evening, I walked our daughter to her ballet class, the music box keepsake tucked in my backpack. We chatted about pirouettes and pointe shoes, the glow of studio lights welcoming her. After she danced, she skipped into my arms and whispered, "Daddy, I love our new song." I smiled, lifting her high. "Me too, sweetheart," I said, feeling her small weight steadied by every careful step I'd taken. Back home, I placed the music box, the watch, and the final decree side by side on my nightstand, 3 milestones of promise, accountability, and renewal. In their silent company, I felt no trace of bitterness, only the steady pulse of inner peace and the knowledge that, moving forward, each second would be mine to shape.